Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Wellness Wednesdays, Lunch and Learn, where you're going to get a little bit of soul food because it's not enough to just heal the body. We're also going to be healing the mind, the heart, and the soul today. We're going to be speaking about why people don't heal, but you can. This is part one in a two-part series. Today, our focus is going to be on understanding the challenge. My name is Dr. Michelle Gamble, and I welcome you. First, I want to make sure that we understand the information in this presentation is not intended to replace a one-on-one relationship with a qualified medical professional and is not intended as medical advice. The presentation is intended as a sharing of information as well as knowledge that I have garnered through my research and that of others. I encourage you to make your own healthcare decisions based upon your research and in partnership with qualified healthcare team. First, a little bit about me. I am what's called a wellness specialist, and I focus on helping people to embrace all aspects of healing, body, mind, heart, and spirit. I emphasize the therapeutic relationship between incorporating all forms of therapy, both conventional and what we term alternative. I help professionals and caregivers in general who are unconsciously sacrificing their own personal health and well-being to the point of pure exhaustion or even hospitalization. I teach these strong, savvy, selfless people how to heal themselves, body, mind, heart, and soul, so that they can better serve the ones that they love from an empowered position of joy, health, and wealth. I'm speaking to you today because whether or not you are aware, you are a caregiver. Maybe you only have a pet in your family. Maybe you have many children. Maybe you're caring for the people in your practice. Maybe you have clients that you're concerned about. Maybe there are people in your community that you're concerned about. If you are here today, I know that you are a caregiver in one way, shape, or form. And I ask you, do you believe that this world needs changing? Well, let's look at these statistics and you tell me. 75% of Americans are overweight and or obese. 1 out of 3 adults are diabetic or pre-diabetic. And indeed, estimates state that 50% of us are what we term insulin resistant, which is pretty much on the road to diabetes. 1 out of 4 adults are on one or more medications. 1 out of 3 people will develop cancer in his or her lifetime. 1 out of 4 will develop heart disease in his or her life. And America's healthcare, interestingly enough, is ranked 35 worldwide, although we spend more on healthcare than most countries combined. What is on the rise, additionally, is the following. It is estimated that if the current rates of growth continue, by 2032, 1 out of every 2 children in the United States will be on the autism spectrum. Diabetes is rising at an epidemic rate. 1 in every 3 children born after the year 2000 will have diabetes in his or her lifetime. Indeed, this is the new normal, that 75% of American adults over the age of 40 have been diagnosed with at least one chronic disease, whether it be hypertension, diabetes, autoimmunity. 1 chronic disease, at least, for 75% of American adults over 40. And statistics tell us that one person will die of cancer every 54 seconds. Now, I think you will agree with me that these are some scary numbers, especially if, like me, you're over the age of 35. If you could prevent diabetes, if you could learn how to prevent hypertension, if you could learn how to prevent the possibility of increasing your risk for cancer, if you could learn how to maintain a healthy weight, how to wean yourself off of medication, and ultimately how to give yourself the gift of life, isn't that something you'd be interested in? And so the question becomes, why? We have to be bold enough to ask ourselves this question of why. Why are so many people suffering from numerous chronic health problems in America? Why are these people not healing? Because unlike the early 1900s and the times before, where we were overwhelmed with acute crises of infectious diseases, and either we had the ability to clear away those infections and get back on a healthy path and be done with it. But now that's not the case. Now our population is faced with what we call chronic illness, meaning that it keeps going on and on and on in the background, and people are not healing. They're not getting better. They're simply managing their disease state. And this is why. Because summarily, we don't have a healthcare system. We really and truly only have a disease management system. And big business is about making big profits. Sick care costs continue to rise. And yet, we as patients continue to get sicker and sicker. And the rates of chronic illness in our country continue to get higher and higher. So let's break this down and talk about what is our current standard of care. Because remember, I said this is not a healthcare system. It's really a disease management system. Let us talk about what are the 5 primary characteristics of this disease management system. Number 1, we are highly specialized. In fact, some may say over-specialized. Number 2, we're extremely reactive. Number 3, we focus on creating distressed victims that will forever be dependent upon the system. And our system is based on scientific arrogance. Last but not least, our system, our standard of care, tends to be generic. One size fits all. Let's start with the first. You see, our healthcare system is extremely phenomenal if you require surgery or acute care. If you require someone to swoop in if you have a coronary attack. Perfect. There's no place I would rather be because of that specialization to be able to fine-tune and be laser focused on one specific aspect of a person's being. However, that is not enough. We need a system that is holistic, that doesn't simply look at the tail of the elephant, or the trunk of an elephant, or the ear of an elephant. Because in doing so, in being so reductionist, in being so compartmentalized, it's impossible to get a true understanding of the whole being, the whole person, And I'm guarantee that you are not simply your ear. You are not simply your heart. You are not simply your toe. And you know what? The toe bone is connected to the knee bone, and the knee bone is connected to the hip bone, and all the bones are interconnected. Not only are all the bones interconnected, but those systems, the skeletal system is interconnected with the hormonal system, interconnected with the cardiovascular system, the nervous system, the endocrine system. Everything is interconnected. And until we have the perspective of the whole, we will continue to suffer with chronic illness. Next, our system is extremely reactive. Indeed, we don't really spend much money on prevention. My mama always told me, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. But we just wait for the problem to evolve and to expand and grow to the point of crisis. And then we swoop in with all types of phenomenal measures to try and put a Band-Aid on the problem or clean up after the mess is already done. Who is going to the top of the mountain to ask, why are these people falling off the mountain in the first place? No, instead, we're the ambulance tracers. We're the ones that are waiting for the heart attack to happen, waiting for autoimmunity to kick in, waiting for someone to become diabetic. And then we have a wide array of surgical options, a wide array of medical options in order to pacify the symptoms. True health and healing goes to the beginning, before disease even develops, and starts to look at helping the body to prevent disease, helping the body, mind, heart, and soul to be able to be whole and nurtured and healthy. Indeed, looking at the body, mind, heart, and soul, and not waiting for disease to manifest on a physical level before we acknowledge the process of dis-ease. Our system also tends to be generic. You know, one size fits all, meaning that there are certain protocols that are put into place when you are found to be, say, diabetic. There are other protocols that are put into place if you are found to be hypertensive. There are protocols that are put into place if you develop autoimmunity or if you become imbalanced with regards to your hormones. But in my experience in dealing with clients, even if I have 5 clients who are diabetic, they have different needs. They have different reasons as to the root causes of why they are diabetic. Subsequently, their healing plan need to be individualized. Mary is not necessarily going to respond to what Henry responds to because her needs are different. Her body is different. Her mind, heart, and soul are different. Her history is different. Her genetics are different. And it's not about the disease. Indeed, I tell people I love the fact that I am not a medical practitioner because I have no desire to diagnose or treat disease. No interest. Disease is merely the symptoms of underlying imbalances. And those symptoms are generic and occur to many, many people yet the underlying occurrences or the combinations of underlying causes are unique to each and every individual. Now, many of us don't realize that we put a lot of pressure on our medical professionals to be like God. MD becomes translated into medical deity, and we go to them with a perspective of fix me, as if he or she is a God. And in reality, this arrogance, this belief in someone else fixing us is part of the problem. We fail to have the humility to acknowledge the supremacy of natural patterns. We engage in what I term sins, simply ignoring nature's supremacy. We feel that we can get a pill to fix all our ills. We feel we can party all night till it's 1999, and then the next day not have to have the consequences of a hangover. But you can only get away from the consequences of nature, but for so long. Last but not least, our system creates a sense of powerlessness, where, as I said, someone else has to be the hero and fix us. Some technology has to fix us. Some magic pill or medication has to fix us. We do not have a sense of being in control of ourselves. Even when we talk about things like genetics, we are the victim of our DNA. It's mom and dad's fault that we are hypertensive, or it's mom and dad's fault that we have different types of ailments such as diabetes. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard people say, oh, well, everybody in my family's diabetic, so I'm going to be diabetic. That is the paradigm that we promote in our so-called healthcare system, where we are distressed victims waiting for something to happen to us, as opposed to being in charge and empowered to be victorious in claiming the prosperity that we should have with regards to our health. So now the question becomes, how can you heal? Well, I'm going to give you permission to be selfish, because it is all about you. I challenge you to take charge of your health. Do not have yourself be at the mercy of a disease management system, just waiting for something to happen. Take charge of your health. And by joining us in this Lunch and Learn today, you are doing exactly that. I encourage you to sign up for our free video series and our various health newsletters, and to RSVP and register for our various Lunch and Learns, webinars, live events, and things of that nature. Last but not least, I invite you to make an appointment for preliminary consultation with me so we can strategize together on how you can be the captain of your ship, the master of your faith, to talk about how you can feel more empowered and in charge of your health outcomes, and not at the mercy of a system, not waiting for someone else to fix you, not waiting for some medical hexing of a diagnosis before you spring into action. Break away from becoming a statistic and remember that two roads diverged in the woods. And I took the one less traveled, and that has made all the difference. Next week, we are going to talk about the strategy for how you can heal. This week, we explored understanding the details of why this is happening and what is the challenge. The first thing that I want you to do as your homework, because remember, I am a teacher, and so I love giving homework. Your first homework assignment is to decide what is going to be your baby step. Because remember, little by little, slowly but surely wins the race. Indeed, it is not about the destination. Health is a journey. This week, I want you to think about, what are your baby steps? What are some of the first things that you want to do to promote your overall journey toward health? Perhaps one of the first things that you're going to do is to sign up for part 2 of our Lunch and Learn series. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, you can feel free to contact me and visit our website for more information about our upcoming webinars, lunch and learns, and live events. Thank you for sharing this time with me on your lunch break.